Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you may be watching us from. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this latest edition of the News in English on Rwanda Television. My name is Serge Hore. Now, straight to the details. The Prime Minister of Rwanda, Dr. Justin Nsengiyumva, has called for countries involved in the conflict in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo not to take part in mediation efforts aimed at finding solutions to the region's security challenges. He made the remarks during the 39th Ordinary Session of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government of the African Union in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Security challenges on the African continent caused by poor governance and armed groups, including terrorist organizations, were among the key issues that were discussed during the two-day gathering. The chairperson of the African Union Commission emphasized that the dark periods the African continent has gone through are enough and that it is time for peace to prevail.
Determination to silence the guns. This is also a very important program if we contemplate to develop this continent and create the integration conditions for our countries. We need to silence the guns. We need peace on this continent. We need stability on this continent, and we have a program for that. The conference really underscored the necessity and its determination to pursue the goal of silencing the guns. And finally, the conference also committed to support the reforms, because without reforming the way we are handling our security issue, peace issue, the way we are handling our economic challenges and trade-related affairs, I think it will be very difficult to reach the deliverables.
Now, the security situation in the eastern DRC and the prospects for achieving peace were among the matters addressed at the meeting. Prime Minister Nsengiyumva, who represented President Paul Kagame at the summit, made it clear that although Rwanda is doing everything possible to implement the provisions of the Washington Accords, the process is being limited or hindered by the conduct of Congo.
We appreciate the role played by the United States in facilitating the Washington Peace Accord and the state of Qatar for supporting the Doha Framework Agreement. The gains achieved through these processes are irreversible, and we consider that they must be implemented in good faith by all parties. We remain concerned, however, by continued violations of commitments, especially by the government of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Rwanda welcomes the AU-led mediation efforts and the outcomes of the high-level meeting that was held in Lomé in January 2026.
Now, as noted earlier, the Prime Minister urged that countries with troops in the eastern DRC not participate in mediation efforts.
The African Union has a central role in supporting implementation of the Washington and the Doha Agreement, drawing on its legitimacy and institutional experience. It is our strong view, however, that countries directly involved in the conflict should not assume mediation roles, as we consider that impartiality is essential to credibility and lasting peace. Rwanda reiterates its unwavering commitment to peace, regional stability, and constructive cooperation across the continent.
As Burundi continues to be involved in the conflict in the DRC, and while also chairing the African Union, observers of the issue believe that greater emphasis should be placed on the mediation led by the Commission of the African Union under the leadership of the President of the Council of Ministers of Togo, His Excellency Faure Gnassingbe. Now, Prime Minister Dr. Justin Nsengiyumva has stated that Rwanda is ready to share its experiences with South Sudan in reconciliation and in the journey of rebuilding after conflict. He made the remarks on Sunday in Addis Ababa while attending the heads of state and government meeting of the ad hoc committee on South Sudan, where leaders reviewed the evolving situation and ongoing regional efforts towards peace and stability. Prime Minister Nsengiyumva called upon the committee, the AU Commission, and member states to renew and implement concrete commitments to continue accompanying South Sudan on its path towards sustainable peace. On the sidelines of the African Union Summit, the Prime Minister also met with President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah of Namibia and President William Ruto of Kenya. Now, exporters of vegetables, fruit, tea and coffee, as well as economic experts, have observed that the African Continental Free Trade Area presents significant opportunities that can be tapped into given its vast size and high demand for agricultural products. They note that this could improve farmers' livelihoods and boost the country's overall economy. Now, 17 tons of vegetables and fruits were recently exported to markets in some West and Central African countries. The exporters say that although they ship their products outside Africa, they are well aware that African countries also import them. They therefore say that they are exploring ways to take advantage of the African common market, even though challenges remain, particularly in cold storage facilities for highly perishable agricultural produce.
Currently, we've been exploring the African markets. We visited, we met clients, different clients. We visited different shops. Market is there, but there are still challenges of infrastructure because on the airport, it's hard to get cold rooms. It's hard to get really professionals who can handle perishables. So that's a challenge which I think has obstructed our ambition to sell to the market, because there is that kind of mindset whereby they think good produce will come from Paris. Yeah, from there we also explore these other markets like Botswana. We are in discussion with some partners or clients, potential clients, and as well as Nigeria. So we hope always what is encouraging us is whenever we send samples are accepted and really very good, beating other competition around. So we believe that in the future, as the infrastructure, as the countries keep investing in infrastructure, we believe that actually that market will also be a fruitful market.
If we can have free movement of goods and services, if we can have free trade between African countries, we have the consumers and the growers. Why should the growers export to Europe and consumers buy from Europe when they can buy from the same growers within the same Pan-African framework of African trade market and platform? We are going to establish an everlasting solution and a platform where we can exchange and have way forward to solving these issues from a Pan-African free trade perspective.
Now, officials at the National Agricultural Export Development Board say Rwanda has continued to increase the volume of its exports to the African market in particular.
What we are doing as NAEB to facilitate our exporters is, first of all, to make them come together so that we can help them when they are together. So we have put their facilities to help them, like pack houses where they come and sort and store perishable products. We also have stores for coffee in case you don't have your own store. So we have stores where you can come and store your products. But also we help them to access those markets, especially talking with Rwanda so that they can avail cargo where they can have enough capacity to fill the cargo. If there are no stores or cold rooms in those areas, our embassy works with them to receive them and orient them what to do in those countries. But also to look for markets, and we are working closely with them, especially in exhibitions.
Now, regarding vegetables, fruits and flowers, NAEB figures show that during the 2024-2025 fiscal year, Rwanda exported 103,456 tons of to various global markets. generating $86.2 million, up from $75 million. A report by the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources for the same fiscal year shows that agricultural exports in general generated as much as $894 million for the country. The agricultural sector recorded a growth rate of 4% compared to overall GDP growth and contributed 21% to the country's gross domestic product. Now, the Ministry of Trade and Industry says Rwanda has set an ambitious goal to build a strong and integrated transport sector across air, land, and water, and a comprehensive 5-year transport sector strategic plan running from 2024 to 2029. The plan is expected to be implemented at a total cost of $1.2 billion, aimed at positioning Rwanda as a regional logistics and trade hub. William Evans Mutabazi with the details.
Nearly 13 years ago, a group of Rwandans established a company offering logistics services for both imports and exports using air, road, and water transport routes. There are people we have signed agreements with that gave us trailers, and we have subsidized our prices and also use insurance to ensure our clients' goods against any issues. Until now, we have a team that works together and we do not have damage issues. Beyond handling inbound and outbound cargo, the company also facilitates the relocation of both Rwandans and foreign nationals entering or exiting the country. Here, they are seen assisting the relocation of a diplomat who had completed his assignment in Rwanda. These individuals could be leaving Rwanda, going back to their home countries or to another country to continue with their own work. Our role is to support them with transportation of their goods to wherever they are heading. These could also be leaving another country or even their very countries coming to Rwanda. The chairperson of the Rwanda Freight Forwarders Association, Gwijema David Mujema, likens the movement of goods to blood circulating in the human body, emphasizing the sector's central role in economic life.
Transportation, either in air or on land or in water, we do all that service. So this is a very important service because it's like blood runs through the body. We also are needed in the clearance of cargo, not only in the clearance but also in the movement of cargo from the point of production to the point of consumption. So how we used to work before, the errors that we used to commit in the process of declarations and what is taking place now. There is a lot of improvement. Every other day, every other month, every other year, we are moving forward.
The transport and logistics sector has also faced a skills gap, prompting several universities to introduce undergraduate and postgraduate programs in transport management and international trade logistics.
Chose to do this program because it is something that is applicable in each and every field, be it medical, be it government, be it in agriculture. There is no place that you cannot find supplies and procurement because every day they're moving products, they're moving things that they need as a company. So it's applicable in every field that you can go to. That's the main reason why I chose it.
The training does not target the local market. It just targets the international community. Of course, with emphasis on the local population, because that's where we have the greatest need. But now, this need is not exactly unique for Rwanda. It's a need that is felt across this Eastern Africa region. So while Rwanda is the greatest beneficiary, the regions within Eastern Africa also are feeling the impact of the graduates that we are producing.
Employment, yes, is there. And what is important is that the employment market is looking for people who are relevant to that market. But also we have those who are self-employed. If you go to customs, if you go to clearing and forwarding, there are still opportunities for people to start their own businesses in logistics and supply chain management, including transportation. So yes, I think the opportunities are there. It's only that we need to make sure they know how to tap into those opportunities.
The permanent secretary in the Ministry of Trade and Industry, Anton Kajangwe, says the government has prioritized investment in infrastructure, particularly facilities that ease the movement of goods. Trade cooperation between countries is something very important and one that is of great benefit and support the economic growth of a country. Therefore, there are priorities, be it in infrastructure development in terms of roads, warehouses, and other facilities that support these trade cooperations. Investor and business expert Dennis Carrera notes that Rwanda's transport sector has made significant progress over the past 3 decades. When you look at the transportation industry today in our country, for example, there is a known transportation and logistics association that was able to purchase 200 trailers at once. I also know business colleagues who can testify to owning 150 trailers as individuals. The volume of goods traded, the money exchanged, and other factors is a clear indication that all of these goods are on the market and they are being consumed. As the second phase of the National Strategy for Transformation, NST2, draws to a close in 2029, the government has rolled out a transport development program valued at $1.2 billion aimed at strengthening the sector and cementing Rwanda's position as a regional trade and logistics hub. The program is officially known as the Transport Sector Strategic Plan 2024-2029.
Brazilians living here in Rwanda say that the good relationship between the two countries is one of the reasons they enjoy being in Rwanda, and that it is also helping to increase investment between the two nations. And our Gladys Benimana has the details on that.
Milton Adriano is a Brazilian who has spent 10 months in Rwanda and works in the construction sector. He noted that he is happy to be in Rwanda and especially appreciates his collaboration with Rwandans.
Estou aqui faz 10 meses.
I have 30 years of experience in brick manufacturing, and I was recommended by the company that has set up the factory because they already knew my work. Working with Rwandans has been a very positive for me. I was warmly welcomed. I have already decided that my future is to stay here. I will continue following the dream and project of building a large brick factory that operates efficiently and delivers 100% quality.
Todo o país de Rwanda.
This collaboration is further strengthened by the fact that various investors from his country are now starting to invest in Rwanda, as emphasized by George Viana, the president of Brazilian Trade and Investment Promotion Agency, Apex Brazil.
Rwanda is earning a strong reputation worldwide, and we in Brazil are convinced that Rwanda currently offers the best business environment in Africa for Brazilian companies and investors. It provides legal certainty, economic stability, political stability, and a comprehensive framework of protection for those who wish to invest. In other words, everything needed to attract Brazilian investment is already in place. What we need to do now is to identify the sectors and groups interested in investing here, while simultaneously expanding trade between Rwanda and Brazil.
The ambassador of Brazil to Rwanda, Her Excellency Irene Vitagala, stated that they wish to strengthen this partnership, emphasizing that Rwanda is an important partner in international cooperation.
I think for a country like Brazil, and particularly at this stage, we consider Rwanda an important partner in the area of multilateralism. Rwanda has a strong position in some subjects, and I think that Rwanda is an example in terms of what an African country can build. And for us, this is very good. If we come to Rwanda with our agents, economic agents, cultural agents, and if they are here and they see what you have been doing over the last 30 years, that's going to be very positive in terms of what we can do together. So I think that example from the part of Rwanda is something that we expect. We see that government is quite dedicated to organizing a very consistent agenda. That's good because we have to be proactive and work with the specific objectives.
The Chief Executive Officer of RDB, Jingai Africa, recently assured these investors that Rwanda is ready to help them overcome any obstacles they may encounter.
Think of Rwanda as the place where you can expand from in East and Central Africa. The place where it will be easiest to start a business. It takes 6 hours. I invite many of you to test my hypothesis and what I'm advancing here. But we've also structured the government as a machinery to be as responsive as possible to investors. And the promise of the Rwanda Development Board of Government is to make it as easiest as possible for you to operate here. For us to achieve that objective, we've centralized a number of services within our one-stop center. So we have a one-stop center and we regulate multiple mandates, but the vision of the one-stop center, which brings together 20 agencies across the government and provides in excess of 400 services, the vision was that when the investor comes and steps into the Rwanda Development Board, he or she should never have to go anywhere else for licenses, services, permits. So we provide in excess of 400 services, licenses, and permits within the Rwanda Development Board. And so let us use today's forum as a bridge, a lasting bridge for commerce, investment, and innovation between Rwanda and Brazil, a bridge that creates jobs, strengthens value chains across both of our countries, and contributes to the sustainable growth of both of our countries.
Currently, there are only 40 Brazilians in Rwanda, but this number could increase in the future due to the cooperation between the two countries, especially in the private sector.
Now, staying on the matter of Rwanda-Brazil relations, earlier this month, our colleague Enola sat down for an exclusive interview with the president of Apex Brazil, the Brazilian Trade, Investment and Promotion Agency, who led Brazil's largest ever business mission to Rwanda.
Estabeleceu relações diplomáticas com o Rwanda na década de 80, em 1981.
Brazil established diplomatic relations with Rwanda back in the 1980s. In 1981, more recently, during President Lula's third term, Brazil decided to open an embassy here in the capital. This decision also responds positively to Rwanda's gesture of opening its embassy in Brasilia. This development creates new possibilities to expand trade, which is currently very modest considering Rwanda's economic strength and its positive phase of economic growth, as well as Brazil's position as a major economy among the BRICS countries. Brazil's GDP exceeds $2.5 trillion, slightly less than the combined GDP of all African countries. What Brazil is doing now under President Lula's third term is once again making Africa a priority. The agency I work for, Apex Brazil, has been conducting several missions. This is our fourth, and based on the territorial division we established on the continent, specifically Southern Africa, Northern Africa, Western Africa, and East Africa. This mission to East Africa also creates opportunities for us to establish an Apex presence in the region, developing an Africa-focused project within the agency I lead. As a result, we will certainly see many cooperation initiatives and commercial actions emerging from this mission. Brazil has brought 26 companies from different sectors of our economy to meet with the Rwandan economic sectors, and tomorrow we will hold dozens of business matchmaking meetings. With the opening of the embassies, especially the Brazilian embassy here in Rwanda, results are already beginning to emerge. The embassy was opened last year, and our ambassador is very dynamic. While there is no formal trade agreement, there are cooperation agreements in areas such as education, food security, health, and political dialogue. In many ways, this is just the beginning of a relationship between the people and institutions. As a consequence, we also expect growth in trade, which is of great interest to us. About 15 years ago, during President Lula's previous administration, Brazil's trade flow with the African continent exceeded $28 billion. It later fell to $11 billion and has now recovered to $23 billion thanks to the efforts of President Lula's government and the decision to once again bring Brazil closer to Africa. Here in Rwanda, this is something new. We are just starting, but based on our knowledge, I would say this is where we see the greatest potential for growth in the short and medium term. Rwanda is earning a strong reputation worldwide, and we in Brazil are convinced that Rwanda currently offers the best business environment in Africa for Brazilian companies and investors. It provides legal certainty, economic stability, political stability, and a comprehensive framework of protection for those who wish to invest. In other words, everything needed to attract Brazilian investment is already in place. What we need to do now is to identify the sectors and groups interested in investing here, while simultaneously expanding trade between Rwanda and Brazil. President Lula always emphasizes one point. He wants trade to grow, but as a win-win policy. Rwanda benefits by exporting to Brazil, and Brazil benefits by exporting to Rwanda.
Presidente Lula sempre faz uma ressalva. Ele quer que o comércio cresça, mas que seja uma política do ganha-ganha. Ruanda ganha exportando para o Brasil e o Brasil, por outro lado, ganha também exportando para a Ruanda.
Thank you so much for taking the time to join us for this edition of the news. I look forward to seeing you again for the next one. Until then, goodbye.